Thank you very much, Excellency, for these words. She's a champion for Africa, and I can assure you that in Ottawa she's playing a major role in making sure that Africa is well understood by all of our authorities and the different players. Now it's a great honor for me to introduce you, Senator Salma Ataullahjan. The Senator is coming, and we thank her very much because, unfortunately, Minister Fantino was retained for an emergency in Ottawa, so he was not able to come this morning. Senator Ataullahjan immigrated to Canada more than 31 years ago. She's naturally a Canadian citizen for many of those years, since 1989. She's been in the real estate business for over 21 years. She's been very active in different political events. She's a political activism, and she has been in many organizations, community organizations. She's been with the Pakistani Canadian Professional and Academics as founder and chairperson of the Parent Council of David Lewis Public School. She's also been very much involved with the South Asian Regional Council, so she is definitely an example of many other Canadians that want to aspire to responsible and important task in their life. And Senator Ataullahjan represents that kind of a challenge and also success. Senator, will you please to address us? Yes.
Thank you for that introduction. Good morning, everyone, and good morning to Her Excellency Florence Zano Chedaya, Dean of the African Diplomatic Corps, and Her Excellency Eda Mukabagazwa, I hope I said that right, Chair of the African Women Diplomatic Forum, and Lucien Bradet, President and CEO of Canadian Council on Africa, and distinguished guests. Let me first say that it's an honor to be amongst you, so many inspirational African and Canadian women. I know that the International Cooperation Minister Julian Fantino was deeply sorry that he could not attend this important event. As you may know, Canada's parliamentary session is coming to a close, and members of Parliament are voting for long hours these days. So on his behalf, let me say welcome, and that I am so glad that you could all make it to Toronto. This is an excellent forum to share your experiences and ideas on building closer links between Canadian and African women entrepreneurs, enhancing the role of women in Africa's economic development. In many ways, you personify today's success in today's market. Your diversified backgrounds, experiences, perspectives will no doubt enrich your discussions over the next 2 days. We know that women have made impressive strides over the past several decades. More than half of the world's university graduates are now female. Women comprise more than 40% of the total labor force, own roughly a third of all firms worldwide, and are responsible or influence up to 80% of consumer spending. In Africa, the rate of female entrepreneurship is higher than in anywhere in the region in the world. Countries like South Africa, Zambia, Egypt, Ghana, the Ivory Coast, Nigeria, and Ethiopia have reported a 10 to 30% increase in the number of women-run enterprises over the last decade. This hard-won progress deserves to be acknowledged and celebrated. It's due in part to the leadership and perseverance of women like you, with support from like-minded organizations and groups such as the African Women Diplomatic Forum and the Canadian Council on Africa. But as you are all aware, gender equality isn't a box we can tick. It's an ongoing pursuit. In fact, it needs constant attention around the world. We know that women in African countries continue to face significant barriers to secure employment, accessing financial services, owning assets, and linking up to profitable markets. In rural Africa, women farmers face similar constraints even though they grow the majority of the food. Studies have shown that giving women farmers equal access to productive resources such as seeds and fertilizer can increase their yields by 20 to 30%. This can potentially lift 150 million people out of hunger. Indeed, when women cannot participate equally, economies, families, citizens pay a price in terms of growth, development, and well-being. This is a high cost that no country can afford, especially in this time of global economic uncertainty. It's a cost that will be passed on to future generations. So the question is, what can we do to secure women's full economic participation? The Government of Canada aims to do its part by promoting equal rights and opportunities for women and girls at home and abroad. Canada recognizes that women as entrepreneurs, wage earners, and farmers are central to reducing poverty and driving growth. And that is why Canada's economic empowerment is an integral aspect of our support to build sustainable economic growth in all different regions of Africa. We do this not only because it reflects Canadian values and respect for human rights, but because we know that investing in women and girls delivers results. Canada is doing this by working with African governments to establish and implement laws, policies, and institutions to support women's empowerment, security, and rights. For example, our government supported the South African government's efforts to provide training to public servants to make government services more responsive to the needs of women. We also supported the government of Nigeria's efforts to advance a national gender policy that stipulates a minimum of 35% affirmative action for women in decision-making positions. In terms of increasing economic opportunities, Canada is helping women get the resources and skills they need to establish, nurture, and grow their businesses. For example, we support women exporters. We have helped more than 300 women exporters increase their understanding of export development processes and international trades and requirements. This has helped them improve their supply chains and export more effectively. We also believe that it is important to help women entrepreneurs access loans and to acquire vocational and business skills. Today, I am pleased to announce Canada's support to the Women Entrepreneurship Development Program in Ethiopia. This program helps women entrepreneurs in urban areas of Ethiopia by improving their access to financing and technical training. It aims to provide loans to more than 17,000 Ethiopian women so that they can take their ideas and turn them into small and medium enterprises that are the source of so much growth and job creation. As I mentioned earlier, the critical role women play in rural areas and the agriculture sector cannot be forgotten. Minister Fantino has recently returned from the Grow Africa Investment Forum in Cape Town, where he participated in a panel discussion on empowering women in agriculture. He was very impressed by the caliber of people at this conference from public, private, and civil society sectors, and they will to effect change in Africa, especially through empowering women farmers. Canada, for instance, is working with countries like Burkina Faso to help women farmers obtain the funding they need to start up micro-projects in the dairy, shea butter, and banana sectors. Women producers in the banana sector, for example, have seen a significant increase in revenues, allowing them to reinvest production and increase their profit. Similarly, in Senegal, Canada's technical support has helped women farmers succeed in accessing 2/3 of the financing available to set processing centers and process their local products into things like juice and jam. These are just a couple of examples, but rest assured that our investments in women's economic empowerment will remain critical to Canada's development assistance. In fact, the amalgamation of the Canadian International Development Agency with the Department of Foreign Affairs and International Trade will further strengthen the effectiveness of our assistance. By combining the expertise of these two organizations, we will also ensure greater consistency in our policy direction. Before concluding, I want to emphasize that Canada remains committed to Africa and to women's economic empowerment in particular. If we can work together to address the barriers women face and provide opportunities for them to take control of their own futures, we will all benefit. Women-led sector enterprises are essential pillars for increased and sustainable economic growth and prosperity in Africa and elsewhere in the world. As successful women entrepreneurs on both sides of the Atlantic, you have much to offer one another. Your discussion over the next 2 days will provide insight into how we can unleash women's full economic potential in Africa, and above all, how to do it through women's leadership. I wish you all an excellent conference, and I look forward to seeing the results of your discussions. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day.